to episode 14 of the CopTalk podcast. I'm Brent Berzicki. Tonight we're joined by Mark Lambert. Jim is obviously taking the day off because I think he was jealous that you took a day off last week or something.
Yeah, well, there's different things. Jim actually, he's canceled his doctor appointment so many times for his pre-op appointment for the sex change that they told me he wasn't going to get his money back if he canceled. So he had to go there. Maybe the doctor's office will be playing the show and he could listen to it and we could give Jim a shout out. Hey, Jim.
You know, I'd kind of fear that if my doctor worked after 6 o'clock at night because I'm pretty sure he's working out of a van or something. So
Jim is pretty cheap.
That's ouch. So this is all getting back for what we did to you last week, I guess.
Well, yeah, kind of. I didn't get a chance
we
to
knew it
defend
was coming.
myself. Jim was kind of yelling or capping off, saying kitty cop and graduations when actually I was chasing burglary suspects over a hill and getting them into custody. But, it was kind of interesting listening to the show last week. I realized that if we lose listeners, it's because they have to listen to Jim for a straight hour. I mean, I swore I wasn't going to listen to the show anymore after listening to Jim, but hey, it was kind of exciting, listening to Jim talk about his exciting week of writing tickets for no wake zones and, teak surfing on the swim step, no fishing license, rescuing the 3 ducklings, caught in the fast water. He does have an exciting job, I got to say.
You're not bitter, are you?
No, not at
Okay.
all, not at all. But
Just checking. All right, so for this week, I guess we can just dive right in because we do have, a few different things and a listener question. And I know we wanted to get, when Jim and I were talking last week, if you weren't sleeping through it, we did want to get your aspect on some of the things we touched on last week because obviously it's a totally different, ball of wax between what you do and what Jim's doing right now. So
right. You mean a sex change operation?
Yeah, exactly. That's precisely it. I think, women in law enforcement. I think Jim's going to have a lot of challenges on his hands, and he's just
will
to do something about that.
I just hope he gets his voice changed along with everything else.
I think he should leave it. I think that would even be trippier. So, in the news this week, just to start us off, I mean, I'm sure you've heard this story about Oakland PD. These guys, I think, man, they never get any slack, but it looks like they're about to lose 150 officers, and that's pretty substantial. I mean, I've heard. I thought we were coming out of the cuts. I mean, I don't know how it is at your department, but I believe that the department I'm working at, we actually hired a couple people just recently.
Yeah, no, I mean, all the police departments you hear everywhere because of the pension. The pensions are killing the city, and for some reason, it's just caught up with all the cities lately with their the budgets, and they're expecting, the police and fire unions to take 10-20% pay cuts, and I mean that's a huge amount to take a pay cut, and for Oakland to lay off 200 officers, that's 25% of their force. I mean, the city is already ranked the 4th most violent city. And if they take 200 cops off the streets, I mean, I'm hoping it's just a scare tactic and it'll never happen.
Right.
But if it does happen, that city's going to go off the hook. It's going to jump from the 4th most violent city up to the either 1st or 2nd most violent city. It's already violent with all the shootings. You can't watch the news or open up a newspaper without reading about some shootings or drive-bys in Oakland, and by pulling 25% of their cops and giving them the pink slips laid off, it's just going to be really, really bad.
Yeah, I mean that's probably most of the people that just got hired that would be laid off. So I mean that's
last hired, is the first to get laid off, but it's still a beat cop on the street. I mean those are positions that they're just going to vacate.
Well, and it's actually most definitely probably a beat cop on the street versus somebody else. Because first hire, that's usually where you end up first.
Right. Your people with seniority are going to be in the specialized positions, detectives, or working, Monday through Friday or something. The other guys are going to be, the guys that work the Friday, Saturday nights, the weekends, the most violent time, and they're going to have to backfill, instead of having maybe 8 beats, they're going to have to cut it down to like 4 beats, and the response times are going to go down. So the people that call the police for what we call a cold crime, not in progress, they may not even get an officer there that day, or they may have to go to a phone bank to call in certain crimes. It's the level of service. If they take 200 cops off the street, is going to go way down. People are going to notice that immediately.
Oh, I know I mean, technically that's what happened in my department, which is, we used to have 16 cars on the street on a weekend for the entire area, and now we have 4.
Right. I
So,
mean, with our city, a full crew should be 8 cops on the street. And if you have a couple of people off that are injured, a couple of people on vacation, if all of a sudden you're down to 4 or 5 people, all of a sudden you notice the calls for service, they start stacking up and the response time just goes down the tube. You get to a call 3-4 hours later and the people are all mad and yelling at you saying, how come you weren't here earlier? They don't realize there may only be 4 or 5 cops on the street.
right. Well, I used to work for a towing company. I know all about getting yelled at. So, yeah, it was brutal to say the least. But I mean, that's obviously there's hot calls and then there's less important calls. But I guess when you're the person who makes that call, it doesn't matter if it's important or not. It's important to you, and those are all calls that we want to get done. It's just sometimes they're a little lower on the pole, so to speak.
Well, those are the calls that are going to suffer. I mean, the shots fired, the robberies in progress, they're still going to be breaking people to get to those. But, the person that comes home and finds that their house has been broken into and their house ransacked, and they call for an officer to come out and take a report, or, the guy that wakes up in the morning finds his car is on jacks and all 4 tires are gone and he's waiting for an officer, he may have to wait a few hours or be told, hey, we'll take a phone report. If there's just not, if the officers are handling hot calls, it's going to be a while before they can get to the cold calls.
Let's talk about making you not feel the love.
Yeah.
Hey, my car's gone. Thanks. Jerks.
Press 1.
Yeah, press 1. Exactly. If you're complaining about an officer's time for response, please press 2. Dial tone. So, all right. So, yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how it pans out. I mean, I know a bunch of guys over there. I'm hoping, I've heard this before come out of that department, but I'm just hoping.
Well, I'm hoping it's a scare tactic. I mean, but San Jose is doing the same thing. I just saw on the news this afternoon that San Jose said that they got concessions out of a lot of their unions, but the police and firefighters union hasn't agreed to a 10 or 20% cut yet. And the city, the mayor flat out said, if the police officers association or the union doesn't give us concessions, there's going to be cop layoffs. If the firefighters don't give us concessions, we're going to have to lay off firefighters.
Right.
And, most, including us, most departments have already given up raises for the last couple of years, because the city always promises, hey, things will get better. Just, help us out and forego the raise this year and we'll make it right. Well, after you give up a raise for 3 years or 4 years on the promises that everything's going to get right, and then they come after you for even more, there's got to be a point where, they just say enough is enough.
Yeah, and then you have to balance losing a few officers versus, losing your entire command staff who decides to retire. So
right,
that becomes a whole nother political bombshell that I want nothing to do with. That's why I work for free, man. It's so much easier that way.
Yeah, all you have to do is worry about getting fired.
Yeah, I don't even have to. Well, I mean, yeah, I'd have to do something pretty horrible. So, like this show every week. No.
Exactly. You're fired.
Yeah, exactly. See, it's that easy. So the next one here is something that I found in the news yesterday, and I'm absolutely amazed at. If this ever comes true, I think I'm going to quit. So apparently, California has decided to look into putting digital advertisements on your license plates for a way to actually make revenue. So, like, I'm sitting behind, your car in traffic when the car's stopped, and digital advertisements start playing across the license plate frame. And if I call and purchase something because of that, the state gets paid.
Yeah, one word for that: ridiculous.
Yeah, it's insanity. But yeah. I mean, creative. But yet, could you imagine how many accidents would come from that? I mean, people, hey, what's that say on the lights? Boom.
Well, supposedly,
I was just trying to order pizza, the coupon code on and that crashed into your car.
Well, it might be a kind of a duck pond for officers. They could write a lot of tailgating tickets
Yeah,
because people will
exactly.
be trying to catch up to the car in front of them to see what their license
That said
flash
50%
information.
off. It said 50% off, officer. Oh,
Yeah, it was a Craigslist ad. It said for a good time,
yeah.
call.
So I was trying to call and I crashed into a tree.
Yeah,
Wasn't a
from
good
what
time.
I understand, I think it said once the car gets going over 5 miles an hour, or if it stops for over 5 seconds, then the scrolling starts, and when it takes off, it stops. But who's going to be in charge of maintaining all that?
Not
And
me.
the crooks are going to find some way to jury rig that to where it won't show their actual license plate. Just a ridiculous idea
Well,
in my
the
part.
sad part is the interesting part in that article is the fact that it actually says that the driver of the car might get paid for that also.
Yeah, they get
So,
some kind of royalties out of it or
yeah.
something.
So basically, I drive around with a billboard on my vehicle, and you can pay my DMV fees. So,
You know what? If they want to do that, be like taxis. Mount the little thing on top of your car or put a scrolling sign in your back window, but don't mess with license plates. They're hard enough to read already when you're in a pursuit of somebody or trying to get a plate on a vehicle.
I mean, you
Yeah,
don't think it should be
ridiculous idea.
it shouldn't be scrolling ads while you're trying to figure out what it says at 100 miles an hour? Come on.
No, no, you get a description of a bank robbery vehicle with a license plate, and you come up to a stoplight, and it's scrolling an ad for Domino's Pizza, and you can't see the plate. Don't think it would be a good idea.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that the ad would fill the whole plate, but I
Yeah.
mean, it would be like a top or a bottom. But I mean, that would be even more funny because that would be great. You just auto scroll anytime you went through like a red light camera, and it could be pizza 50% off. Here you go. So I
Or it
mean,
might be funny if the guy robs a Bank of America, and when you get behind it, it's scrolling a Bank of America ad.
yeah, as long as you could hack into it and make your own messages, I'd be cool with it.
And somebody would do that. That would happen.
I'm hoping that just goes away.
Like I
So,
said, it would get back to Craigslist ads or something.
oh yeah, no, it could just stream out all the pornographic ones. That'd be cool too.
I sell stuff on eBay. Maybe it's a good idea. I could sell more stuff on eBay.
Yeah, you could just have your own ads run on your own car.
Yeah, just put the website on there or something.
While you're at it, just put where you live and your social security number and everything else, and I'm sure you'd have a great time.
Exactly.
So, all right. So we did get a listener question that was, I mean, I guess it's a little bit off topic for what we do with, but overall, in the end, I think we have to sort of deal with this because we end up going to the place when they're trying to receive the goods. But the question that came up was that they got a default judgment on a case and that they're trying to collect the money from the case, but they're basically unable to find the person and track this person down. So, I mean, I saw the reply that we sent to this person. I mean, obviously, why don't you hit on a couple of those topics real quick of how, the easy ways to find it, and then maybe we can add a few.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We usually get into it's a civil matter, and we usually get into that in the beginning or the end. But it sounds like this person was asking for information on kind of in the middle of it. They got the judgment. They're trying to figure out how to find the
Well,
guy.
I mean, in some cases, I mean, I've had default judgments, and it's basically impossible to get your money. You might have won the case, but you didn't actually win the prize. So, you might never get your money. And
Right.
I think that trying to find people today is actually relatively easy.
Oh, it is. With the technology they have nowadays, it's very easy.
But I mean, are there professional people that do this on a daily basis?
There are. I mean, one thing I think one of the replies was public records. You go to the county building in your area, and you'd be surprised what you could find out about people, their properties, properties that are in certain people's names and whatnot. You could check public records, and that's the key word, public records. It's available to the public. They could look under the guy's
I can
name.
tell you what everybody on my street basically makes, and also how much their house is worth just by going to the internet.
Oh yeah, on the
So-
internet. You could look if you Google somebody's name, it's amazing the replies you get, along with all the offers of businesses that you could get information on people for free. There's ones more in depth where you pay a certain fee and you could find out where they work, cell phone numbers, I mean, you name it. And if this person, like we mentioned, if it was a substantial judgment and worth the money, they could get a private investigator and just let them do all the legwork. The private investigator will find where they're living, where they're working, any information on somebody.
Yeah, it
But
better.
that's if it's worth it, because a lot of private investigators, they're not cheap.
Right.
Um, but if they got a pretty good judgment, it's worth a few $100 or $500 or whatever to find the guy, then so be it. If it's a
And you don't
judgment,
and you don't have to deal with it.
you don't have to do anything except lift up the phone,
Right.
and
And that's
that's it.
probably quite a bit safer in some respects.
Yeah, yeah, because if you start tracking somebody down or going to their work or something, it can be, a little dangerous. But like I said, if they just Google the person's name, they could find out a lot of stuff for free on the internet, especially if they know the general area the guy lives. They can get a lot of information for free on the internet.
Right. Yeah.
And like we also said, Facebook and MySpace, you hear stories all the time about how somebody found a long lost child by searching Facebook
Right.
or MySpace. So they could try that, because a lot of people put way too much information about themselves on those websites.
Heck, Facebook hooks me back up with a bunch of people I don't want to know.
Oh yeah, I just for the heck of it, I don't think I'm even on it anymore, but when I first signed up for an account, I was getting all these things from people I went to high school with, many, many, many years ago, wanting to be my friend. I go, wow, that's pretty easy to find people, I guess.
Yeah. So what? All the people you beat up at school or what?
Yeah, we'll let that one go.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's yeah. So no, that must be Jim. So I mean, to sum it up, I guess they need to do their research, and then they need to, either spend the money to have it done professionally, or try to go and just handle it themselves in hopefully the safest possible way. Really, in general, though, the beat cop, the guy on the street, is not going to be involved with this at all,
No, not
unless
at all.
unless they get into a confrontation.
Well, no, I mean, at this point where the person has the judgment, the defaulted judgment in their favor, an officer's not going to go into their computer and try to look this guy up for him. I mean, police officers can't go into their computer and look up people for no reason, or run,
Right.
somebody's name for no reason. So an officer's not even going to get involved in that.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have a judgment against me and you won it, and then you came over to my house and start harassing me for the money, the beat guy is going to come up and be like, "You, as in you, need to get out of here."
Right. 'Cause
Handle
we're not
this
going to go in the
correct.
guy's house and grab the money for you.
Right. So I think that's important that people understand that we don't do that work.
Right. I mean, the best thing is to find out where the guy lives or works through a private investigator or through internet info, and then you can get a lien against him. If you find
Right.
out he's working somewhere, you get a lien against him, and they'll take it out of his paycheck for you.
Right, or potentially never get your money ever.
Exactly. It'll pend until the day he dies.
Yeah, and then they move out of state and all of this goes away. So,
Right. But the great thing, I've seen people that get pissed off at somebody, and they'll put like a $200 lien against somebody's property, and the person can never sell their property until
Right.
that lien is taken care of. So they could always do something like that just to be a thorn in somebody's side.
well, I could tell you that the person I won a judgment against, which was for a considerable amount of money, they all they
Has
did
Jim
was
paid you yet?
no, that would be the other person. But
Oh.
no, what they did is they just got in more trouble and more trouble with more important people. So like the IRS and everybody else, and they just all came before me and my settlement. So it was very interesting to see how you can work the system to really screw.
There is a pecking order.
Yeah, and I was not at the top. I'll tell you that. All right, so last week, just moving on from the question, I think I'm going to try to get a hold of that person and see if they want a book, because that's a book question right there. Last week we talked about how people get into the middle of what they're not supposed to be, and I know we wanted to get your point of view on a few different topics. I think that, and the people we meet in the field, and a few other things. So I mean, if you want to jump into that one, then that's probably a good next topic.
Well, I heard you guys talking last time about the types of people that you face on traffic stops, and when you were working that special event, some of the people you deal with, and you guys have mentioned maybe Mark can have a spin on it. I mean, you guys pretty much covered it. Bottom line is there's usually, in our line of work, there's 3 types of people that you deal with. The first type's your, normal law-abiding citizen. They're polite, they're respectful, very easy to deal with. Number 2 is the asshole, which I think you mentioned that you met that night.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, a couple of them.
Sarcastic, belligerent. They're always disrespectful.
And they never think that they are.
Yeah. They act that way all the time. No respect for, I mean, not just law enforcement, but no respect for other people, other people's property. They don't even have respect for themselves.
Their own parents, yeah. Oh.
Yeah. And then the third people we come across, and these are the most dangerous, that's the number 2 asshole trying to act like the number 1 normal, polite citizen. And if you have, we come across the normal asshole, and all of a sudden he's, well, yes, officer, no, sir, yes, sir. I mean, it's a game, and that's when the hairs go up on the back of your neck and the little red flags go up that this guy's either going to plan something or he's trying to hide something. And those are the ones that really you got to be careful of.
Right. And that's when hopefully training and everything else that we do comes into play to try to figure out what that person's trying to hide or why they're acting that way.
Right. And you were also talking about, like Jim's saying, traffic stops, how you're, with the economy the way it is, pulling people over with, no insurance and, the expired registration and when to have a heart and not to have a heart. And it's every officer's call when they pull over somebody. And it is true. If I pull over someone and their registration's expired a month or 2 and they go, officer, I lost my job. I'm doing the best I can. I have my insurance. Here's my insurance. I thought that was, the most important thing to have, and my tags I'm going to get cleared up in whatever time. I can give a break to somebody like that, but you pull over the guy or the lady in the Cadillac and the registration's expired a year. They have a fake tag stuck on the year tag. They have no insurance whatsoever. And yet, the driver's got their nails all done. They've got 26s on the car, the wheels. They got a $3,000 stereo blaring, and they're all dressed nice. Well, they're going to get a ticket. If, they can't afford insurance and registration, but they could afford all that other nice stuff and the wheels and the stereo, then they could afford a ticket. Their priorities are mixed up. It's not like the first person saying, hey, I have insurance. That's the most important thing to me if I get in an accident. Because I want to make sure I don't screw other people, by being an uninsured motorist. That person's going to get a break from me on the registration, but not the person that's got their priorities all mixed up.
Yeah, that's I've seen that.
Oh yeah.
When your wheels are nicer, when your wheels are nicer than your house, we got a problem.
Yeah, and
you park in your front yard.
They don't have the insurance and all the other good things.
Yeah, truly amazing. And actually, it was interesting when I was at that special detail. One of the guys that was working security at it, he was out near the street area watching cars go past and all this. And he said, I've seen more cars go past with like $8,000 worth of rims, and yet this neighborhood looks like hell, and there's garbage all over the place. So I just don't get it. And I go, I know what you mean, because he wasn't from California. He was from Minnesota, I think. He said it's just so different here that it is from home. We walk down the street and we pick up the trash because we want our neighborhood to look good. It's like, I guess that has to do with respect, though, and it has to do with, caring for where you live.
Yeah.
It's kind of why everything goes down the toilet. So
that is for sure.
Did you want to talk a little bit on the excuses that you get? Because I know you worked traffic for years, so I'm sure that you got a million of them.
That's a whole show in itself.
Well, we got a couple minutes. You want to hit a couple of them?
I think we covered that at one other time. The best one I could remember was the guy that said he had an accident in his pants.
Yes.
And he got to keep the pin after he signed the citation. But other people are speeding. They say, "Oh, I left my 2-year-old home alone while I went to the store, so I'm hurrying up to get home." They kind of put their foot in their mouth, because then you say you left a 2-year-old home alone. it creates other
not
problems.
Not your day is what I'm going to chalk that up to. So
The funny ones are when all the residents on a street start complaining that they have speeders flying up and down their street, 100 miles an hour every single day. So we sent a couple of motor officers out there, and they start pulling over cars, and guess who most of the violators are? The people that live in that neighborhood.
The people who run the association that asked for him?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people that called, the majority of the time, are the ones that are speeding up and down the street.
Yeah, that actually happened in my neighborhood, and they wanted to put in radar signs to catch people on photo radar. Yeah, so they actually asked me about that, and they said, do you think that's a good idea? And I said, maybe you should go out there and figure out who you're pulling over before you start issuing citations. So they actually posted somebody, and yeah, it was pretty much all the people on the board.
Yeah.
So, that was, I think it would have been great, but we have, huge problems because it's basically a private neighborhood that doesn't have active patrol, which, there's quite a few of them in California. And, the city cop doesn't want to come in unless they get an active call that's actually something that's not traffic related. Mm-hmm. So there's no enforcement in here. So what are you going to do? You just blow through the stop signs and do whatever you want. So that's it's kind of cool. It's like anarchy right in the middle of, of the city that you live in. Just because they think it's safer that way when you put in a guard check. But, yeah, don't believe it.
Yeah.
The criminals will still come and get you. Unless they have
even in a gated community.
Yeah, well, unless they have a restraining order, then they'll get them at the gate. Just watch out. So,
yeah. As for excuses, there's a ton of them. And when I was a motor cop, you hear just about everything. But don't lie to a police officer. They could work with honesty. I remember I gave somebody a break. They blew through a stop sign, and when I pulled them over, I said, "You didn't see the stop sign?" And they said, "Well, officer, I saw the stop sign. I didn't see you." It's that kind of honesty. I actually gave them a break. I told them I appreciate your honesty. They had the registration order, they had insurance, and it was an easy ticket, but I appreciated their honesty. It made me laugh. It was an excuse I hadn't heard before, and so I just gave them a warning. But ones that
normally, sir, I never stop here, but since you're there, I should. Yeah, that's
right.
Good.
The ones that lie, I stopped, or you didn't see me. That was another car. The ones that just flat out lie and try to come up with excuses, I don't even argue with them. They get a ticket every time. But the people that are straight up and honest, you can't give everybody a break when they're doing stupid things. If they're going 90 miles an hour, down the road in a 55 zone or something, they're going to get a ticket. But the most part, officers appreciate honesty, and a lot of times you'll get a break more often than not.
Right. Well, I stopped. Yeah, you stopped here. You didn't stop at the stop sign. And secondly, I guess it comes down to the fact that if you're being honest and you're still going to get a ticket anyway, it's because you're just going to get a ticket. There's no way around it. You could be honest, and if the guys on the street are instructed to write tickets for that area because this area is having huge problems and you're one of the problems, you're going to get a ticket.
Yeah, special enforcement areas, they pretty much everything they stop gets a ticket.
Right.
And especially if it's the car on 26s with no insurance and a fake tag stuck on the back of it and a loud stereo, you could hear 3 blocks away, yeah, you're going to get a ticket.
Yeah, that car's stolen, so that person shouldn't need insurance. So what I would say is that the other person didn't have insurance in the car, and that I'll just be getting out now, sir.
Right.
I don't know this isn't my car. So, yeah,
How'd I get in this car?
Yeah, whoa, is this mine? Oh, hey, cool.
I got in the wrong car, officer.
I totally picked this up at the 7-Eleven.
I just bought it.
I guess so last week, after you obviously had a problem with Jim giving you so much flack, I guess you were out actually doing some real police work. So you said that you wanted to hit on that story because that story sort of showed kind of the reason why we wrote the book, and that's to make people more alert into what they're doing. What happened with that?
If just a few people hear this story and take the time to be a little more alert, it makes it all worth it. Mm-hmm. we got a call of suspicious subjects in front of a house. Didn't even come out as a burglary at first. It's suspicious subjects in front of a house. They're pacing back and forth in front of the house. They're unknown to the area. A minute later, another neighbor called in, said they went up to the front door of a house and then they walked away. And so it's one of the neighborhoods where people, it's a neighborhood watch area. People are actively looking out for strange stuff. So two different neighbors called in. And so we were a little tied up. It took a few minutes to start getting officers there. And the first officer on scene sees these two guys that were described by the neighbors fleeing out the backyard of this house up into the foothills behind the house. So
That's
more
not
units
suspicious.
Yeah. So more units are coming in, trying to set up a perimeter. As I'm driving down the street, I see one of the subjects up on top of the hill. This guy owns like an acre behind his house, up in the foothills. I see one of the guys up at the top of the hill, and the minute he sees me, he disappears over the top of the hill. So I go running up to the house. I knock on the door and have them secure their pit bulls. And so I go up through his yard, up over the crest of the hill where I saw this guy, and the grass is about 2 or 3 feet tall. And as I'm searching, I see a glimpse of white in this drainage ditch. And as I get closer, I could see the guy was laying on his back in this drainage ditch. So I took him down at gunpoint and, got him into custody, and I arrested him. And they got the other guy who had ran down the hill down to a street down below, got him into custody. And they asked that guy what he was doing. He goes, looking for lizards. And the guy that I arrested, when he was laying in the ditch, I go, what are you doing up here? He goes, visiting family. I go, what, are they buried up here in a shallow grave or what? So what it turned out is...
cop humor.
What it turned out is they were from out of the area. They found this house, and that's the way the burglars do it. They look around, they try to find a house. Obviously, they didn't see the cameras that were mounted on the corners of this house, but they went up, and you could see him in the video. He puts his finger inside of his T-shirt and pushes the doorbell. He didn't want to get fingerprints on anything, so he pushes the doorbell, and they left for a few minutes, and they came back, and when they saw that no one was home, no answer, one of them went around the back and broke in. And they had, plastic gloves that you could get at the hardware store. They put gloves on to save the fingerprints. They had stacked up all this person's jewelry, electronics, everything by the back door. They had a car nearby, and one of them came out the front door to go get the car. They had the TVs stacked up, everything ready to go. They were just going to load up and split. And when he came out the front door, he saw the police car approaching, so he ran back through the house, and that's when they bailed out the back up into the foothills. If the alert citizens hadn't called, this person did not have an alarm system. They did have cameras, but no alarm system. So it would have gone undetected. If nobody called in, these people would have got the TVs, the jewelry, everything loaded up in the car. They would have been gone. And maybe through the video down the road, the people may or may not have been identified, but the property would have been long gone.
Right.
But thanks to the alert neighbors, we got on scene. We were able to get both of them into custody. One of them was on probation for burglary.
You don't say.
And but yeah, they're both in custody. They're both in jail with enhancements. The person has their property, and everything turned out good, all because of an alert citizen. And that's just it. If people see things in their neighborhood that just doesn't look right.
So people,
I'm not talking about the guy taking a walk through your neighborhood that you've never seen before, but suspicious car parked on the street, suspicious subjects in front of a house. If it doesn't look right, call the police. Give them a description, which is what we got, and that's how we were able to, spot them running. Give a description of the vehicle, license plate if you have it. We covered that in depth, I think, a few episodes ago, where even if the car leaves, if the officer has a license plate, he may find it 4 streets over, getting ready to do a burglary over there. So give a good description and at least get the police rolling. If it's nothing, then it's nothing. We'll check the people out. If they don't have warrants, haven't committed a crime, they're on their way.
Well, and I mean, today a license plate's even more important because we can actively search for that license plate on the way in, or in some cars with license plate recognition software in it, it'll do it all by itself while you're driving to the call. So,
Right.
you know, it actually, you can actively go and, you know, basically you could put that plate right in the system immediately and it can start scanning. So you can grab that person on the way to the call or even on the way after the call in case you hadn't found it the first time. So a lot of cool technology out there for finding guys. I personally think that those guys are just playing like the home kit of CSI, and I think they shouldn't have gone to jail. But
Yeah,
maybe that's
right.
just me, you know. And if Jim was here, he'd ask you, well, what did you respond to the incident in? And I think there would be some kind of smart butt answer like an ice cream truck because you work with kids all the time. So
Yeah, it would have
exactly,
been something like that. But
which would be
while
really
I
cool.
was out, doing real police work and arresting burglars, I can't remember what Jim was doing, saving the ducklings from the river or something like that.
He was teak surfing,
That's right. That's
which
right.
is actually something I'd never heard of in my life, but does sound like fun. So, but don't try that at home. That's all I got to say. So, I mean, that kind of wraps up our topics for this week. I mean, we can keep this show a little bit short. The
Actually,
one
I got
thing,
one more quick one.
no, I think we're out unless you've
No,
got.
I've got one more quick
Oh,
one.
but wait, before we go on, how does somebody get involved with Neighborhood Watch?
Just call your police department.
So they usually have a person that's dedicated to that program or their citizens programs.
Well, with budget cuts now, you may not find one,
Mm,
but eh, more than likely, they could refer you to somebody in the neighborhood.
right.
They're citizens that are like the captains of the block, and they could refer you to the captain of that area of the block to get materials, to tell you when meetings are. And at least with our police department, I know when the budget allowed it, the neighborhood meetings, they'd notify us when their meetings are, and they'd send the beat officer there, because the best person to tell you or inform the citizens about what problems are in the neighborhood and what precautions to take is the officer that works in that area.
Right.
And so I think the majority of police departments still have that, or at least they could refer you to citizens that are block captains that could let you know where and when the meetings are.
Right, and I guess on the flip side of that, I know we've talked at a couple Neighborhood Watch things, you know, based on the book and all of that. You know, I guess as a, you know, as just a plug for the book itself, really a lot of stuff that's discussed at Neighborhood Watch stuff is covered in that. So, I mean, a lot of the articles on the site and a lot of that is really stuff that makes you aware of what you need to look for on a daily basis to be able to report those things. But I think the biggest thing is many people just don't want to make the call. And you know, my theory is I rather have you call and it be nothing than you to call and it have been something.
Well, that's
So
just it. A lot of people will call and say, "Well, it's probably nothing. I don't want to call. I don't want to look like a fool if it's
right,
nothing." But then again, that could be the burglary.
right, or the bank
Please,
robbery.
if something doesn't look right to you. Now, granted, we do have some of the chronic people that call 30 times a day. And a strange bird flew through my yard. I've never seen that bird before. I mean, it almost seems like they call for that kind of stuff. It's, I mean, really, the chronic ones are a pain in the butt, but you never know. Even the chronic ones, they may come up with a good tip to solve a burglary.
Right.
Um, but if something looks strange, you're the ones in your neighborhood. You're the ones that live there. You're the ones, and hopefully you know who belongs and who doesn't. If you see the carload from out of the area pull up and stop in front of a house, and you know they don't live there, and you see somebody go to the door, or especially jump over a fence, I mean, call right away. Unfortunately, there's people that don't want to get involved, that just ignore the problem. And then they see police cars down the street later, and realize their neighbor's house got broken into.
Well,
But
I can.
one day it could be your house.
Well, and I was driving to work the other day and driving down the freeway. On the side of the freeway, there's a truck parked with a lady sitting at the back corner of the truck on the ground on the freeway shoulder,
Was it
holding,
Brittany?
no, holding her basically like newborn kid on the side of the freeway. And I'm like, there is nothing more dangerous than being on the side of the freeway outside of your vehicle. So,
Right.
I mean, I got on the phone and called CHP and said, hey, you really should get somebody out there because that's a tragedy waiting to happen right there. because people, especially in the mornings when people are more interested in their coffee than driving their car, or sleep as much as I do and just drive all over the road anyway. So,
right. And even as an officer, I call in on stuff, my own neighborhood. I'm not going to play, RoboCop like Jim and, go out and check
that's
everything.
Robo Boat Cop.
Yeah.
Come on. Robo
Rubber Boat Cop Jim.
Rubber Boat Cop. That's good. He'll like that. He might even put that on his shirt. RBC.
There you go.
Rubber Boat Cop. I bet he's glad that his boat was rubber when he ran it into the other one. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, he didn't like to talk about that too much on the air, but yeah, I don't think you're supposed to ram, I don't think you're supposed to do the pit maneuver in a boat, but hey, that's Jim.
Yes, that's Jim. So
bottom line is call. We'd rather get out there and find out it's nothing, that it's a appraiser or something in front of a house just doing something legal than to go and take the paper later. And that's what we wrote the book about. People don't call, and then all of a sudden later the homeowner comes home, and then we got to send a cop out there to spend an hour fingerprinting and taking photographs and everything of the burglary when the neighbor walks up and says, oh, I did see something earlier. It looked a little strange, but I didn't call. That's not what we want. We'd rather get the call at the time and make sure it's nothing.
Right. And I mean,
and that's how we got these two burglars in custody. I mean, the burglaries would have continued for weeks to come, around in that area if we didn't catch them. And luckily, thanks to two citizens, we were able to catch them. We had to send them a book.
Yeah, we should. Heck, thanks for doing our job. Here's a book.
Right.
Oh, I mean, thanks for being a good citizen. Here's our book. That's what I meant. Sorry.
Hey, so the last thing I wanted to cover was we were talking, and it has to do with getting involved, but it also has to do with when not to get involved. There's a time to get involved and a time not to get involved. There's, get involved by picking up the phone and calling. But just a few days ago, I'm in my garage tinkering with my motorcycles, and I hear all this yelling down at the end of the street. And I look up and I see these two gangbanger guys on one side of the street, raising their hands up, yelling, what's up, all kinds of profanities. And I see a guy on the other side of the street. I guess he had just stopped in his car. I guess they flashed signs at him or something, and he slammed on his brakes, and he's with his girlfriend. He's got to be the big man. So they're in a confrontation, and he's trying to get over to these two guys to do something. His girlfriend's hanging on to him. And I could hear her screaming, get back in the car. No, stop, get back in the car. And so I'm not going to be a Jim and go down there. So I just pick up the phone and I call the local PD. I said, hey,
wait. You're not going to drive your boat down into his car? Come on. And that would have been a spectacle. I bet you that would have broke up any fight going on.
Yeah, just get in my little rubber boat and go down there.
Just drive right down the street, right onto his Cadillac with 26.
Most cops you'll find they're good witnesses when something happens. If it's something major, gunshots going off or something, yeah, I'll grab my gun, I get involved. But little fights or something like that, I'm not going to get involved. But they're getting ready to go at it, and so I just called the local PD, said you better get somebody over here. Gave them the full description and everything. And so this guy's girlfriend is yelling, get in the car, get in the car. She's trying to stop her boyfriend, and they're getting ready to duke it out. And he shoves his girlfriend. She goes down on her butt in the driveway of a house. And all of a sudden, this woman comes out of the house. She's like 70 years old. And she comes down, and she thinks she's the savior. And she gets in between these people. Oh, wow. And I was just waiting for if a knife came out, she's going to be right in the middle of it. If a gun came out and shots are fired, they're not going to care that she's there. And so I was waiting for it to get really ugly. And luckily, it broke up. And they walked away from each other without it getting ugly. But this lady came out of her house, and instead of just calling the police, and being a second person calling in, because if we get more than one call, then we know it's urgent. We know it's real. We know it's urgent. So instead of calling and saying there's people in my driveway just getting ready to fight and screaming and yelling, she walks down and she gets in between them, is trying to kind of shove this guy backwards. And
not a great plan when you're getting beat up by a 60-year-old. That might just put somebody over the edge.
Well, yeah. I mean, these guys were adults. They were probably 18 to 20 years old, But she went down there thinking that she could just talk them and calm them down. In this day and age, you don't. I mean, she's very lucky a gun didn't come out, because she probably would have been shot. She was right in the line of fire of this guy. Or if they decided to go at it with knives, she would have been in the middle of a knife fight. And, there's a time not to get involved like that. In a case like that, make the phone call. Don't go out and get physically, involved trying to save somebody.
Yeah. I mean, and most cops don't do that. I mean, unless
Right.
it's an immediate life-threatening emergency, that's what that's what the guys on duty are for. But
We're always telling people to get involved, but there's a way to get involved
Yeah.
and a way not to get involved.
Well,
What was
and I
that
mean,
bank robber? It was a couple weeks ago. There was a bank robbery, and the guy's in line, and the guy in front of him pulls out a gun, and he's right behind the guy. And what does he do? He grabs him, gets him in a bear hug, and he held him until the cops got there. I mean, that was great. He was a hero, but he could have been a dead hero too. So,
Yep.
they don't recommend. Police don't recommend getting physically involved in a violent crime, unless you're prepped to do so.
Right. And what's amazing is there's always somebody bigger and meaner than you, and it might be that person.
Right.
And I guess on the flip side, in today's day, with cell phones and cameras on your phone and all that, you can always be involved as a good witness. One
Get it
that
on
has
video, take a picture. Yeah.
one that has all the good information, all the directions of travel of the vehicles, all that stuff that we usually get there and go, yeah, did anybody see anything? Oh no.
Right.
And that for us makes it like impossible to do any follow up on it. And then, that the citizen that's affected by it thinks that, you can't do anything. Well, no, you didn't get a license plate. You don't know what they're wearing. You don't know the description of the person.
What do you expect us to do?
I could just go yank somebody off the street and tell them that, you're guilty, but I don't think that that's really going to, solve the problem that you had. So,
But we cover that. To be the best witness you can. Everybody sees something different. If you have a robbery and you ask 6 people what they saw, you're going to get 6 different answers. They're going to be somewhat the same, but the height's going to be different. Maybe the color of the hair is going to be different. The shirt's going to, everybody sees something different, especially under stress. But
right.
Be the best witness you can. Get a, clothing description, direction of travel,
Picture of the car.
Yeah, if you can get the license plate, great. But otherwise, 2-door or 4-door, dark green or light green, older or newer, and just get a good description, give it to us. And a lot of times the officer will probably see that car or those people on his way into the area.
Right.
But be a good witness. This lady, this 70-year-old lady, was really lucky. The guy's girlfriend got shoved down on her ass hard on the sidewalk, and if this 70-year-old woman got shoved down, she could have broke a hip and been in a wheelchair the rest of her life. So
yeah, or died from it. So that's a whole nother thing.
So get involved, be a good witness, but don't put yourself in danger in the middle of it. And that's basically what I wanted to cover with that story.
All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps it up for this week. We're right about an hour anyway.
Yeah, Jim probably had his boob lift done by now. Hopefully he's got his boobs and they're okay.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll work on his voice next. That's going to take some work, though, because he's got a pretty deep voice. So
a very irritating voice, too.
Oh, irritating.
Especially when it goes on for an hour. So
just because you're jealous that you didn't get to be on the show last week. Jeez.
He's my brother. I got to love him, I guess.
Yeah, you should hear what he said about you. No, I won't go into that.
I heard what he said.
Good. I'm glad he called you.
I would have paid money to hear the pre-show. It was bad enough just listening to his capping on me in the show.
That's why I erased the pre-show, because it's really just evidence for us. Yeah. So, I guess to round out this week, the best way to get in touch with us is to go to the website. You can email us there anonymously. You can send us your questions.
What is that website, Brent?
That would be coptalk.info, and you can find all the episodes are there. You can listen to them right on the site, or you can subscribe in iTunes, and
you can read all about us, who we are, why we wrote the book, read about the book, and there's just hours and hours of free information to keep yourself safe there.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel so guilty about saying, hey, go out and buy the book, because we give away so much free stuff. So
it's good to have it on your coffee table, a quick reference, instead of having to log on the computer or on your phone and scroll through it. buy the book and it's right there.
Yeah, and I guess take it from somebody who listens to books on tape/audio books and also is used to listening to his iPod all the time. It is sometimes nice to just sit down with a real book. So it's a refreshing change. But
In fact,
I guess
hopefully Jim took a copy of the book to his doctor's office and he could leave it in the waiting room for other people to read too.
yeah, the doctor in a van, it doesn't have a waiting room. So
that guy doesn't have a license either.
Yeah, I think Jim's in trouble, but I'm sure next week we'll get the full. We'll know if he shows up with a different voice, we'll know it went okay. He might be recovering. Okay. He might be recovering next week. Who knows? But I do plan that he'll be back next week, and we'll have the crew back together. So
that's good. Then we get even cap at each other and be able to defend ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's nothing better than listening to you two go at it every week. So I will say,
real quick, we talked about the neighborhood watch programs.
Right.
If you're even thinking if you belong to one, or you're even thinking of forming one, get a copy of the book. I mean, that's one of the best things to pass around to all the neighbors too. Instead of all the neighbors buying one, you could just share it for your block and pass it around.
Heck, and if you're in California, we might even come and talk to you.
Yeah, it depends on how close in California, but
I see. So you're just truly not dedicated to this cause.
Well, I don't think I want to travel, 400 miles to sell one book, but
I'm not saying that.
We'll send you, Brent.
Yeah, okay. Then why not? Because Brent has to record all the shows. Why shouldn't he have to go do all the talks too?
Okay, I'm not going to argue with you. We'll wait till next week when Jim's back.
Oh, come on. I feel like not part of the team. So, all right, well, we'll see you next week, and we'll get Jim back here so he can defend himself.
All right, everyone, stay safe, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.